Now going to call the meeting to order. The public hearing of Thursday, February the 27th, 2025 to order. Now, this meeting is being convened in person and by electronic means. As such, council members may participate in person or by electronic means. For council members participating by electronic means, please ensure your video is turned on and let the clerk know if you leave the meeting for the purposes of confirming quorum. Council members are reminded that in accordance with section 14.13 of the procedure bylaw, members must enable their video to confirm quorum. If council members attending by electronic means lose connection during any portion of the hearing, we will recess the meeting until the connection is restored. If council members lose connection during the voting process, our team members will get you back online quickly while we suspend the voting process. The contact information has been circulated to you. Members of the public can view the proceedings via the live stream and YouTube link, which will be posted on X at Van City Clerk. Now, I do want to acknowledge that we're hosting today's public hearing on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, and I do want to thank them for their generosity and their hospitality and the love and care they show this land that we get to live, work, and play on. Now, in case of an emergency where we need to evacuate the building, I'd like to direct your attention to the exits. If you just go through the glass doors, hang left at the pillar, and please walk down the stairs. If for whatever reason those glass doors or anything's obstructed, there are 4 exits. Please use one of them, and once again, do not take the elevators. Now, if you require accessibility assistance, please remain at your location and wait for one of our security team members to guide you to a safe location. I'd also like to highlight that we do have a defibrillator in here, so if anyone needs it, please put up, I don't know if you'll be able to put up your hand, but let us know, and or we'll see it, and we'll be on it. Now, I do want to acknowledge our team at the City of Vancouver, everyone that chooses to be here. And I do want to stress, people choose to come and work at the city. They're not forced to, they choose to. And we have an amazing team here, and we've been able to work with you for the last couple of years, and it's an honor. And so thank you for helping us make this city a better place. Clerk, can we please have roll call?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor Simmons in the chair. Councillor Kirby Young has a leave of absence for this evening. Councillor Dominato. Councillor Bly also has a leave of absence, civic business all day. Kirby Young's was also civic business. Councillor Fry has a leave of absence for civic business. Councillor Montague.
Present.
Councillor Klassen. Councillor Meissner.
Present.
Councillor Jo.
Present.
The hearing has quorum, Mayor Sim.
Great, thank you very much. Now, before we begin, I have some announcements. The public may participate by speaking in person, by phone, or by submitting written comments to Mayor and Council. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. Speakers should also state whether they are in support or opposed to the recommendations and if they are a resident of Vancouver. Speakers representing 4 or more individuals or groups, including themselves, will have 8 minutes to speak. Each individual or group being represented must confirm their representation by introducing themselves either in person or online. Individuals represented by another speaker cannot also speak independently. Speakers may only speak once and should follow along on X at Van City Clerk for updates on the progress of the meeting so they don't miss their turn to speak. Any comments on agenda items can be submitted in writing through our online Mayor and Council public hearing feedback web form. This link will also be posted on X. Any speakers who pre-registered with presentations are reminded that that the public live feed has a slight delay. To navigate through the slides of your presentation, please say next so that the clerk may advance your slides. I also want to note the City of Vancouver's longstanding commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, including utmost respect for all genders. I remind Council that when addressing speakers and our team members, we will avoid using gendered honorifics and will instead refer to the person by first and last name, role, or title. A reminder that council's role at a public hearing is to be a quasi-judicial body, which means council is to only consider the merits of the rezoning application or heritage designation. Council members may ask clarifying questions from speakers, including the applicant, or request technical advice from team members, but should save debate for after the close of the speakers list. After hearing from speakers, council may 1, approve the application in principle, 2, refuse the application, or 3, refer the application to team members for further consideration. Finally, if council does not conclude hearing from all speakers this evening, we will recess and reconvene the meeting on March the 4th, 2025 at 3 p.m. So the first item on the docket is number 1, CD-1 rezoning 1171 West 12th Avenue. Now, before we begin this agenda item, if anyone believes that they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Seeing no one declaring a conflict of interest, we will drive on. Now, the clerk will read the application and summary of correspondence received.
This is an application by Stuart Howard Architects to rezone 1171 West 12th Avenue from Residential District to Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of a 17-story residential building containing 111 rental housing units with 20% of the residential floor area for below market rental units. A floor space ratio of 6.52 and a height of 55 meters with additional height for rooftop amenity space are proposed. General Manager of Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability recommends approval subject to conditions set on the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence has been received since referred to public hearing: 3 pieces in support, 12 pieces in opposition. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Great, thank you very much. Now, this is the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 106-1445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. Now, there will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be added to the end of the registered speakers list. Now, we do have our team members from Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability here to present the application, unless someone wants to move to waive the 2. Okay, please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Susanna Ruhl, and I'm the rezoning planner for this application considered under the Broadway Plan. The site, shown in red, is located on the north side of 12th Avenue between Elder and Spruce Street in Fairview. The surrounding context consists primarily of 3 to 4-story residential buildings. The site is currently developed with a 4-story rental building. There are tenants on site eligible for tenant protection under the enhanced tenant and relocation protection policy for the plan area. The site is well served by public transit, bike routes, parks, childcare centers, and community facilities. Both the future South Granville Station and Oak VGH Station are a few blocks northeast and northwest from the site. Consideration of this application is enabled by the Broadway Plan, a 30-year plan which focuses on opportunities to integrate new housing, jobs, and amenities around the new Broadway and subway line. The site is located in the Fairview South Area B sub-area, which allows for consideration of rezonings for 100% rental housing, including a minimum of 20% of the residential floor area as below market rental units. The application, submitted March 19, 2024, proposes to rezone the site from RM3 to CD1 to permit the development of a 17-story rental tower. 111 rental units are proposed, with 20% of the residential floor area as below market rental units. A density of 6.52 FSR and a height of 180 feet are proposed. This table compares below market and average market rents by unit types, as well as the average annual household incomes they serve. A virtual Q&A period was held from September 11 to 2024, and 40 pieces of correspondence were received. Support was expressed for the building design, the type of development, and the new housing availability. Concerns were related to housing affordability, tenant displacement, neighborhood character, traffic, and parking. In response to public feedback regarding housing affordability, this application proposes market rental and 20% below market rental units, both more affordable than home ownership. Regarding tenant displacement, eligible tenants are protected under the enhanced tenant protections under the Tenant Relocation and Protection Policy. Regarding neighborhood fit, this application meets the form of development anticipated by the Broadway Plan, which seeks to incentivize new housing options in close proximity to rapid transit, shopping, services, and amenities. Lastly, regarding traffic and parking, the application meets the expectations of the parking bylaw and will need to provide a transportation demand management plan at the time of development permit. Staff anticipate an overall reduction in vehicle trips with the completion of the Broadway subway. The public benefits resulting from this application are the market and below market rental units. The applicant will pay the utility DCL estimated to be approximately $1.2 million, as shown here. The applicant is seeking a citywide DCL waiver for the residential floor area, which is valued at $1.9 million. In conclusion, this proposal aligns with the Broadway Plan and advances the city rental housing targets by delivering 111 rental units with 20% of the residential floor area as below market rental units. Staff recommend approval of this application, subject to conditions outlined in Appendix B of the report. Staff and the applicant team are available to answer questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Would the applicant team like to present the application if in attendance?
Thank you, Worship and members of council. I just wanted to, I think staff did a wonderful job summarizing our project. I just want to let you guys know that we are here able to answer any questions that might come up during the public comments on the project and our closing comments. So any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Great, thank you very much. Now, are there any questions from council to our team members or the applicant team, noting that this is the only opportunity for council to ask questions of the applicant? Councillor Montague.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Just a quick question, I guess, or maybe a quick question for the applicant. I noticed there's currently 22 tenants within the building right now, and I'm just wondering if you can tell me, one, what condition the building is in right now? Like, how old is it? What sort of condition is it in? What sort of repairs or upgrades are needed? And how do you work the tenant relocation? Do you use an outside company? Do you do it yourself? Do you have swing properties?
Thank you for your question, Councillor. I'm the architect for the project, so I can answer your question as best I can. We're not really involved in the tenant relocation of the existing residents. I can tell you it's a mid-century building that is very much at the end of its life. We are there's a lot of cost associated with the building right now, such as plumbing failing, electrical problems, and such. So I think to keep this building up and going would require quite a bit of future recommissioning of electrical and plumbing services in the building. I believe our client has engaged a separate tenant relocation consultant for the purpose of tenant relocation within the building of the existing residents, and to my understanding, they've done everything according to the enhanced TRP requirements for the Broadway plan.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Great, thank you very much. Councillor Klassen.
Thanks very much. Thanks, staff, for the presentation about this project. I just really have something that's kind of an odd question. I tend to, when I go through the package, I try to read a lot of the correspondence as well. And I happen to notice that there were listed 11 letters in opposition to this project, but the 7 of them were written by the same person. So I just thought I'd point that out. I don't think I typically would be able to ask our staff around that, but I just wanted to make a note of it just because it's something that I would catch typically in the future. I'm not entirely sure how we, go right ahead.
This person she has sent emails several times, so she, I would be not surprised that she had submitted the same letter several times, because I have gotten the same email also several times, so it's probably she just submitted, and I'm not sure that's for the clerks to answer how that's working, but.
Yes, I would just add that despite letters from the same individual, we would still provide them to council. So council is aware of what's being said.
Okay. Thanks very much. That was my question. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, seeing no one else in the queue, this is the second call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. We're now going to hear from the public. Any registered speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium when your name is called. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. And so I do know we have some registered speakers. Speaker number 1, Stephen Bohas. Yes, yeah. Can we please get the presentation up? Awesome, great, thank you. Please go ahead.
Audio with the video. We can't hear the audio. Mayor, could you
Sure,
stop
can we,
the clock?
let's restart the timer.
Yeah.
Just because I've just reset the timer there. Yep, it's all good.
Planning for towers. Tower site standards. Planning for towers requires careful consideration of urban design and built form to ensure these developments contribute to the vitality, livability, and character of the Broadway neighborhoods. In establishing general standards for towers, the foundational considerations are site frontage and depth, separation, and floor plates.
In the presentation talked about 150-foot frontages, and I wonder how staff would respond to reducing that that frontage to something closer to 100.
Yes, we've had a significant debate about frontages and trying to calibrate that properly for a plan of this size. We landed on 150 feet because we would like to ensure that, particularly in the centers, we have some space and light between towers and we don't create a kind of wall effect of towers. The concern about reducing down to 100 feet would be that on some of the long blocks, we could end up with 4 or 5 towers per block.
Councillor Kirby-Young, I'll give you a few more seconds.
Thanks, Chair. So I think I've provided sort of the context and the setup for that. The only additional thing I can offer here with respects to frontage.
Genova to this amendment?
I'm fine with that. I mean, if Councillor Kirby-Young would like to have credit for it, that's fine. I just want it to get done, really. That's one of the reasons I brought it forward. I was expecting her to bring forward frontage. And although I have to say that I would think that it would be better to go down to 75 feet. I'm not going to get into it here. I mean, I have a background in working in the development industry.
Very much supportive and think it is absolutely necessary at this stage of our process. So thank you to Councillor Kirby-Young for bringing it forward.
Chair, could I ask the staff what their comments on this are?
Thank you, councillors. The frontage question is definitely something that staff looked at quite closely. The 150 feet was specifically calibrated to
Tina, can you hear
allow
me?
for things like tower separation, appropriate setbacks to adjacent development.
Yes, we can hear
Sorry.
you, Councillor Meisner.
Sorry, can I just raise a point of order?
Sure.
For some reason, I'm hearing audio from a previous council meeting. Is that intentional?
It is, yes, I'm trying to put the context in on what the Broadway plan originally promised, what we
Oh,
consulted on,
understand.
and this is going back
Ve-
to
okay.
the 18th of May and June, the 9th of 2022.
Okay, sorry, I didn't realize that's what was occurring, so I was very confused as to why I was hearing the voices of Councillor DeGenova and Swanson. I just wanted to confirm that there wasn't a technical issue. Thanks.
Yeah, and the slides are tight.
Those weren't voices in your head, Councillor Meisner. Sorry, I just had to say that. Sorry. Please go
Thank
ahead.
you.
If we can roll.
That was about a minute.
And also to make sure that we're not encumbering adjacent properties.
So you guys are okay with this?
We can support it with the appropriate urban design review.
So we are now going to move to a vote. That vote will be on the amendment by Councillor Kirby-Young to Councillor DeGenova's amendment. Okay, that vote does pass with myself, Councillor Hardwick, and Councillor Wiebe in opposition.
If I could have my slides and Chair, I lost about a minute with that interruption. Okay, and I've already said I'm a resident of Vancouver. I'm opposed, and I work in Fairview. I presented during the Broadway plan debate in 2022 based on the information that we got that there's a 150-foot frontage minimum. And this was changed after all the speakers spoke, after staff said that it's not going to happen. Okay, if we go to slide 2, there are 2 existing towers per block. You're going to create a canyon of towers with all the other rezonings in the area. Slide 3. The revised shadow studies omit one of the towers, and I'm really concerned about that, and it had to be revised. Slide 4. The signage does not show the context of all the other applications. There are at least another 8 or 9 in this area. That rendering does not show the city skyline as it is. I'm pretty sure about that. That's what's on in the application package and on the sign. Next slide. The existing 2 towers per block was the policy, and it was changed. You removed it in December, and I think it's going in a very poor direction. Next slide. That's the last slide. To wrap up, there are actually policy issues other than the 2 towers per block that has been amended. The top 2 levels, levels 16 and 17, have an 11-foot floor-to-floor height, which is against the Broadway plan.
And I apologize, we're at time.
I lost.
Actually, you didn't. I stopped the timer when Councillor Meisner had his question. Right.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you. And thank you for the presentation. The next speaker we have is speaker number 2, Luis Villegas. And do we have the presentation coming up? Great.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity to speak. I thought it was interesting. Steve's presentation showed how the roles and responsibilities of politicians and professional staff have been inverted, with the professionals being told by the politicians how to shape our city. Obviously, the reason why we have a professional staff is so they can exercise their understanding of matters of things like street wall and so on. I am speaking against this tower because it's become clear to me that every tower approved by council adds fuel to the housing crisis. Next, please. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Next. That's a quotation attributed to Albert Einstein. The next one is all mine. The mere appearance of a quid pro quo between government and industry puts democracy on a knife edge. Next. The housing crisis is a land lift crisis, which means that the enemy resides within this chamber. Next. Economists are in agreement. The increase in the cost of housing is all in the land. Next. Let's look at that, how that works on the arterials where the zoning is 3 FSR. Granting 7 and 20 FSR increases the size of the building by 2.5 to 7 times. Next. It's even worse in the neighborhoods where 7 FSR to 20 FSR increases the size of the building between 20 to 30 times. And these buildings are going up next to houses. So imagine living in a house where the building next to you is going to be 30 times larger. There goes your view of the sky. There goes the sun in your backyard. Now, it's illegal to shade a childcare space, but it's not illegal to screw up somebody's residence for the rest of their lives. Next, please. Here, finally, is proof, the evidence that government is feeding the sharks rather than keeping them in check. Population has doubled. That's indicated with the dotted green line. But the house prices have gone up 10 times, and the condo prices have gone up 12.5. Affordable houses must become a guaranteed right for all Canadians. Next, please. It is a fallacy when council is saying that an increase in housing stock will drive prices down. Next, please. The correct response from government to a rising demand in housing is to increase the supply of land. Can't be done? That's probably why you are sitting there and I'm standing here. Next, please. Start by stopping the hemorrhage. Stop building SkyTrain and towers. Increase the number of highway lanes between Greater Vancouver and the 2 neighboring districts where there is cheap land available to build affordable housing in quantities to meet or exceed demand. Government must take 3 actions to end the housing crisis. The first one is a moratorium on towers. Next. The second one is to build GAP, GAHP, guaranteed affordable housing in perpetuity. Government's 20% below market policy gets the first and the last word correct. Guaranteed and in perpetuity. But it makes a mockery of the middle 2 words, affordable housing. Next. Second action is to build LRT. Because LRT is 12 times cheaper than the Broadway subway. Because LRT goes 120 miles in range. The SkyTrain is a loop that from Commercial Street to New Westminster measures 8.5 miles in distance. And that loop is full. So every train coming out of the Broadway tunnel is going to have to queue to enter the loop. LRT supports 1 million gap doors per line. I am showing 3.5 LRT lines there, which means 3.5 million gap doors are supported, which translate into 8 million people. Pop quiz. What is the population in British Columbia?
Sorry, and Lewis, we're at time here.
Okay, my clock says 4:24. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Okay, speakers number 3 and 4 have withdrawn. Clerk, do we have any speakers on the phone?
Just checking, Mayor. And no.
Great, thank you. Now, this is the third and final call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. If there are any additional speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium. And with that,
Thanks,
Hi there.
Mayor and Council.
Hi.
I did sign up. I'm still trying to figure out.
That's okay. Before I start your clock, can I please get your name and whether or not you're a resident in Vancouver, please?
Yeah, my name's Sarah McLeod, and I am a resident of Vancouver.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
So I'm just going to go back a little bit in time, just a little bit, to a couple other. There was a public hearing with a couple other rezonings about the Broadway plan that happened on December 11th. There were many more people there, so it extended to December 12th. And then when we got closing comments from council on December 12th, I'll just quote what one councillor said. After hearing many people talk about how being relocated and TRPP not being sufficient, how it would affect their lives. And that councillor said in their closing comments that I can empathize with the inconvenience of moving. Relocating, not moving, is not just an inconvenience. It actually causes trauma. Being forced to move can cause trauma, especially when unexpected or involves a loss of control, leading to feelings of insecurity, isolation, and anger. Being forced to move, especially when it's not your personal choice, can create a sense of powerlessness and a loss of control over one's life and environment. It's a stressful experience. It can trigger or worsen existing mental health issues or lead to new ones, such as relocation depression or relocation stress. There's more for children, but also long-term effects. It can have long-lasting effects, potentially affecting a person's sense of self, relationships, and overall well-being. My personal experience, I did not choose necessarily to leave the place that I left from and I moved from. I was asked to leave, although I did choose to move to Vancouver. It's been hard to understand how something that I chose to do has made me feel the way that I do. But I had supports and family that helped me realize that what I did was traumatic and helped me understand the trauma, which is I'm very thankful for. And I'm sure I had anxiety before and mental health issues before, and they're still there. And there could be many factors to a weakening immune system, but those are also that I seem to have adopted a few extra allergies too since moving here. I can't blame it all on one thing, many factors, but added stress, anxiety, and mental health and all that stuff does not help the immune system for sure. So yeah, I just want to say that to just try to understand, I guess, people's position, and maybe just not be insulting on top of it by saying that you have empathy for the inconvenience of moving when you don't understand what you're saying. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in today and sharing. Okay, Clerk, do we have any other speakers online?
No.
No, great. And I do want to acknowledge that Councillor Kirby Young has just joined on WebEx. So we're gonna take a 5-minute recess and wait for any additional speakers to call in or come forward.
No.
Okay, seeing no further speakers, this. Just have to repeat that for the record. Seeing no further speakers, the speakers list is now closed. Seeing that there are few or no public comments received after 5 p.m., I'm now closing their seat of public comments. Does the applicant team have any closing comments?
Thank you, Worship and Council, for reviewing our project tonight. I'd like to just respond to a couple of the speaker comments. One of the speakers is correct. We do have higher floor-to-floors on a couple of our stories of this building. We were below the maximum building height of 20 stories on this project. So to improve livability of a lot of our units, we try to stretch our floor-to-floors a little bit more to make the units a little bit more livable. But the speaker is absolutely right. We are beyond the minimum recommended that is in the policy. I can't speak to some of the other comments from some of the other speakers. Sort of strains outside of my expertise as an architect, but we feel that we've designed a really attractive small tower here for the city, and we're quite proud of the efforts that our team have made on this one. So thank you very much, and we hope you approve our project. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Do our team members have any closing comments?
No closing comments, thank you.
Thank you. Does council have any final questions for our team? Councillor Klassen.
Whoops, I just clicked twice. No, sorry, Chair. I was just going to make final remarks here. I jumped the queue a bit.
Okay, let's just make sure if we have a spot for that. Oh, yeah, we do. Okay, great. I'll just jump that. Sorry. Okay. Clerk, did we receive any additional public comments since the close of public comments?
No.
Okay. Council will now make its decision on this application. Do we have a mover for the recommendations? Councillor Klassen, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Montague. Thank you. Is there any discussion? I think Councillor Klassen, you are up.
Thanks, Mayor. There were very brief comments. First of all, the applicant has shown a consistent habit of coming into the chamber and responding and filling in and responding to comments and questions. I just want to off the queue again. Oh, there you go. But I just wanted to say that I appreciate parts of the aesthetic of the building. There's a concrete tower, which were very popular at one time, probably about 40, 50 years ago, just down the block. While that has probably served as terrific housing for people in the neighborhood for a long time, I think that the addition of this building will probably bring a bit more of a spark, if you like, on that street, just in terms of the aesthetic. And I also like the way the common area has been expressed as well. I think that we live in times where people can often be socially isolated, and this will provide opportunities to change that, make people feel more connected to a community. So for those reasons and others, I will be supporting this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Meisner.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the applicant, to the speakers this evening. I also will be supporting this project. I think it's a good response to the site. As mentioned, it is below the maximum height, and the comment around the floor-to-floor ceiling heights, I think, is really important. In my experience, having higher ceilings in units, it really contributes to livability. So it's nice to see that in a rental development. And also, the building there is at the end of its life. So this will be replacing those units with brand new rental units and below market units. And of course, our tenant protection program, which will ensure that people are they're taken care of while they're relocated temporarily and moved back into those brand new units in a few years' time. So I think this project is really a win-win, and I'm happy to support it tonight.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so seeing no one else in the queue, why don't we put this to a vote? If you can please go to the voting panel.
Mayor, can I get a vote assist in favor, please? Councillor Kirby?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, and it looks like that passes unanimously. Great. Congrats. Okay, item number 2, CD-1 rezoning 2535 Carolina Street and 557 through 569 East 10th Avenue. Now, before we begin this item, Councillor Kirby Young, can we please can you please put on your video feed? Okay, well, we have quorum anyways. Okay. Now, before we begin this agenda item, if anyone believes they have a conflict of interest, can they please state it? Seeing none, the clerk's now going to read the application and summary of correspondence received.
This is an application by HAV and Developments Limited to rezone 2535 Carolina Street and 557 to 569 East 10th Avenue from residential district to comprehensive development district. To permit the development of an 18-story mixed-use building containing 150 rental units with 20% of the residential floor space for below-market rental units and commercial space on the ground floor. A floor space ratio of 5.8 and a height of 54 meter with additional height for rooftop amenity space are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability recommends approval subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing: 4 pieces in support, 10 pieces in opposition, and 2 pieces dealing with other aspects of the application. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Great, thank you very much. Now, this is the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 106-1445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. Now, there will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be added to the end of the registered speakers list. Now, we do have our team from Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability here to present the application.
Just don't see it up on the screen yet.
Do you have it on WebEx already?
Yep. Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Carly Rosenblatt, and I'm the rezoning planner for this application, which proposes to rezone a site at 2535 Carolina Street and 557 to 569 East 10th Avenue under the Broadway plan. Next slide. The subject site, shown in red, is made up of 3 lots and developed with ground-oriented residential use. The existing zoning is RT5 residential, and surrounding sites are also zoned RT5 to the south, east, and west. The property directly west of the site recently received approval at public hearing to develop a 19-story mixed-use rental building with childcare use. The properties across the lane to the north are zoned C2C Commercial District and developed with a range of mixed-use commercial buildings. Next slide. The site is at the northwest corner of Carolina and East 10th Avenue. It's approximately 16,100 square feet in size and has a frontage of 132 feet along East 10th Avenue and a depth of 122 feet along Carolina Street. The property contains existing residential uses, including 8 units of secondary rental housing, with 6 residential tenants eligible under the city's tenant relocation and protection policy for the Broadway plan. Next slide. The Broadway plan is a 30-year plan focused on opportunities to integrate new housing, jobs, and amenities around the new Broadway subway. This site is located within the Mount Pleasant RT area, sub-area B, which allows for consideration of rezoning at this location for a mixed-use rental building with 20% of the residential floor area for below-market rental units. Rezoning can be considered for a tower site that has a maximum density of 5.5 FSR and a height of 18 stories, with minor increases in height and density where commercial use is provided. Next slide. As this application was being processed, a review of the Broadway plan policies was conducted by city staff. Prior to December 2024, the Broadway plan included policy that allowed only 1 tower on this block face, making it non-compliant as it was the second tower proposed on this block. Council has since approved amendments to the Broadway plan to consider up to 2 towers on this block face, and the proposal is now considered compliant with the Broadway plan. The application was submitted on October 5th, 2023, and it proposes 150 secured rental units with 20% of the floor area for below market rental and commercial use on the ground floor. The building height is for an 18-story building with a maximum height of 54 meters, with additional height for a rooftop amenity space. Underground parking is provided with access off of the rear lane. Next slide. This table shows starting rents as well as the average annual household incomes they serve in Vancouver's east side. Starting rents for the below market units are to be discounted 20% below citywide average rents, and these rents would be secured through a housing agreement prohibiting the stratification of units. Next slide. A virtual question and answer period was held from January 31st, 2024 to February 13th, 2024. A total of 153 submissions were received. Next slide. Support was expressed for this project as it proposes increased rental housing in the neighborhood. The height, density, and massing is considered appropriate for the location, and the ground floor retail space received positive feedback. Some respondents noted concerns related to the height and density not fitting into the existing context. Others expressed concern the neighborhood does not have enough amenities and infrastructure to support the proposal, specifically related to school capacity, sewer systems, and park space in the area. Concern was also expressed for too few parking spaces being proposed. As mentioned at the time of the open house, it was considered non-compliant with the Broadway plan, as it was the second tower proposed on this block face, where only 1 tower was permitted to be considered. Folks expressed concern this project was not adhering to the Broadway limit of 1 tower per block. Next slide. In response to these concerns, staff note an 18-story mixed-use building aligns with the Broadway plan. Finding available rental units is a challenge across the city, and there continues to be significant need for secured, purpose-built rental housing options. The Broadway plan includes a robust public benefit strategy that delivers key infrastructure and community amenities for the area over the next 30 years. There is existing school capacity, and the site is within close proximity to 7 parks. Engineering staff have also confirmed there is existing sewer capacity and no upgrades are anticipated here. The application is required to comply with the parking bylaw, and I'll note it's also in close proximity to frequent bus service, the future Mount Pleasant SkyTrain station, and it's located on the East 10th Bikeway. The plan's policies related to tower limits in areas closest to transit, shops, services, and amenities have recently been revised, and staff have reviewed the site-specific conditions in the plan's form of development guidance and concluded it is appropriate for the context. Next slide. The applicant is contributing 20% of the residential floor area as below market rental units, and they are also contributing approximately $1.3 million in development cost levies. They are requesting a waiver of DCLs for citywide DCLs on the residential portion of the building. In summary, staff recommends approval of this application at 2535 Carolina Street and 557 to 569 East 10th Avenue from RT5 to CD1, subject to conditions outlined in Appendix B. The proposal meets the intent of the Broadway plan and advances the city's rental housing targets. If approved, the application would contribute 150 secured rental units with 20% of the residential floor area for below market rental, as well as commercial space on the ground level. This concludes my presentation. Both staff and the applicant team are available for any questions.
Great, thank you very much. Now, would the applicant team like to present the application if in attendance?
Hello, Mayor and Council. We do not have a presentation today, but we're available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Now, are there any questions from council to our team members or the applicant team, noting that this is the only opportunity for council to ask questions of the applicant? Councillor Meisner. Hold on one sec.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm just curious from the applicant about the retail space, wondering what size it is and what sort of tenant you're envisioning for this retail space.
Thank you for the question. The size of the space is about 880 square feet, I believe, and we're targeting a local neighborhood kind of grocery store or cafe for that space.
Okay, that's great to hear. There's big demand for, bringing back the corner stores of the past that we used to have in neighborhoods that people love so much. So I'm really glad to see that that's part of this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Claassen.
Thanks, Mayor. There's a question for staff. We were seeing a number of applications along this East 10th corridor. And, for those who know the neighborhood, that part of 10th Avenue serves as an extremely popular cycling route and is very busy. And I'm just wondering if, and I don't know if we have anybody from our streets team here, but if there is going to be some long-term consideration to how we're going to be able to use that space just for multiple uses. And a couple of comments that came in from people who are concerned about the project, but I just wanted to bring this up because I think I asked this the last time we had something in this area.
Thank you for the question, Alan Chen from Transportation. The section of 10th Avenue is identified as a greenway in the forthcoming Broadway Public Realm Plan. Over the long term, the plan for greenways, such as this one on 10th Ave, is to be converted to car-free or car-light. This would improve the overall capacity and safety along these greenways. In addition to that, this section of 10th Avenue is also identified in our current active mobility plan for near-term improvements. So in the future, staff may consider measures for traffic calming to be implemented in the near future as we work towards a long-term vision for 10th Avenue Bikeway.
Okay, that's good to hear, actually. Thanks very much, and thanks for the presentation.
Thank you very much, Councillor Claassen. Okay, now this is the second call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 106-1445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. We're now going to hear from the public. Any registered speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium when your name is called. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. Clerk, actually, I don't have to ask the question because I know we have speakers. Speaker number 1 is Louis Villegas.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity to speak. I am speaking against this tower because it has become abundantly clear to me that every tower approved by council adds fuel to the housing crisis. Could I have my slides, please? And maybe start at the second slide.
We're at 17.
Yeah, next one, please. It is insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and then expecting a different result. Next. That was an Albert Einstein quote. The next one is mine. The mere appearance of a quid pro quo between government and industry puts democracy on a knife edge. Next. The housing crisis is a land lift crisis, which means really that the enemy resides within this chamber. Next. Economists are in agreement that the increase in land costs during housing crises are all in the land, the increase in housing costs. Next. We can see that if we look at the arterials where zoning was at 3, giving an FSR of 7 or 20 increases the bulk of the building by 2.3 to 7 times. But of course, it increases the cost of the units that are being rented or sold exponentially. Next slide, please. In the residential neighborhoods, it's even worse, so that a 7 FSR is a 10 times increase in the bulk of the building. 20 FSR would be 30 times. Imagine a building of that size going up beside your house, because these buildings are being put in next to houses. Next, please. The housing crisis chart shows the rise in the exponential increase in the cost of houses in the blue line, and the orange line shows the rise in the cost of condos. The dotted green line shows the increase in population in Vancouver from 1985 to 2024. Population doubled, but the price of houses went up by 10 times, and the price of condos went up by 12.5 times. And the issue here is that that rate of increase is impossible for salaries to keep up. Next, please. It is a fallacy, therefore, that what council says, that an increase in housing stock will drive the prices down. Next. If council wishes to correct a growing demand for housing, the right move is to increase the supply of land. How can it be done? Next, please. Well, first you have to start doing what you're doing right now, building SkyTrain and towers, and there being just 5 highway lanes connecting the Lower Mainland to adjacent districts where there is land in abundance that is cheap for building affordable housing sustainably. Next, please. There are 3 things that government can do to curb the housing crisis, and the first one is to make a moratorium on building towers. The second is to build GAP, that is guaranteed affordable housing in perpetuity. Next slide, please. On the LRT side of things, we need to create ways for people to access land outside of the boundaries of Vancouver proper. LRT is 12 times cheaper to build than the Broadway tunnel. It has a range of 120 miles. The SkyTrain rides in a loop that measures just 8.5 miles in diameter from Commercial Street to New Westminster. 1 million gap doors are supported per line of LRT. 3.5 lines, because the line from SFU to UBC is really not a full line, will support 3.5 million gap doors, or 8 million people. And I asked, just as my presentation time ran out last time, what is the population of British Columbia? And it happens to be 5 million. So this is a demonstration of what good urbanism looks like. Next slide, please. If we focus in the downtown area and in the area surrounding what government calls the Broadway plan, what I call the Tower Sprawl Zone, you can see that the 5 lines of transit that are going to be in there, 3 that are LRT or 3.5, and then the Expo line and the West Coast Express and the Millennium really provide the kind of transit service that you really want. So this is a trade-off for the city of Vancouver. You build transit, you get people arriving. My slides are being moved for me, thank you very much. And you service your population by providing opportunities for people to travel outside city boundaries to find affordable housing. That slide you shouldn't show, it's going to get me in trouble. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council.
Thank you very much. Speaker number 2, Stephen Boas.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Stephen Boas. I am a resident of Vancouver. I'm opposed to this rezoning. I work in Fairview, and I often cycle right in front of this property on my way to and from work. This slide shows a quote from the city's Mount Pleasant Community Plan Implementation Newsletter dated on October 23rd, 2013, and the Mount Pleasant Community Plan Implementation Plan was touted as a 30-year plan to help Mount Pleasant evolve in a positive way. Next slide. It was co-created with the MPEG. I was volunteer on the committee along with the previous speaker and other members like Michael Weep. The plan did not see rezoning in RM and RT zones, and you can see the illustration with the arrow right to this site because the density was supposed to go on Broadway, Main, and on special sites. Next slide. As Carly Rosenblatt mentioned, there was a change in the Broadway plan, like the goalposts keep shifting. This site was originally too small at 132 feet. You changed that with the original Broadway plan to 150 feet, as I mentioned in item number 1 for the frontage. And now there was supposed to be a maximum of 1 tower on this block face, and the goalpost got moved again, and now there are 2 towers per this block face. This isn't the plan that got advanced automatically. But the same applicant here, Haven, you approved the rezoning in Kits on West 14th, and I've got the rezoning sign there, and there's been no activity whatsoever on that in terms of development permit. However, at the same time, there was a rezoning approved for 701 Kingsway. They're in DP's land now. There are 2 Kits in rezonings in DP on West 7th Avenue. And I'm just wondering, is this a rezoning to flip? That Haven has no intention of actually developing this site. They're just trying to get a rezoning so they can flip it on. Does this applicant even have a track record for developing anything in this city? And essentially, if you do approve this rezoning, you are fueling speculation. Who wins, who loses? Next slide. The shadow diagrams are incorrect, and Carly Rosenblatt knows about this. She did not correct the shadows, and it's hardly the first time that we've seen incorrect information coming from staff. I'm very concerned, and I'm wondering if, will the city actually investigate this, or what's the process of making a complaint, or does this have to go to the Planning Institute of BC against one of their own members? It's happened too many times. Next slide. And you can actually see shadow diagrams with the context of the building next door that was approved. There's also a building that was mentioned by rezoning planner. Do you know if that's 6 stories? That's not in the shadow diagram. So I think there are a lot of issues with the accuracy of materials presented at a quasi-judicial hearing. Next slide. I just made a quick massing diagram and a Broadway plan model so you can see a bigger context there. It's, of course, not as detailed. It takes about 3 times as long. Next slide. And a few other shots looking from Broadway north. And I will note that, last week there was an earthquake, and I think most of us felt it. And I'm wondering, why are we building towers in an earthquake-prone zone? There are a lot of issues there in terms of seismic safety. I have a lot of concerns about safety as a cyclist going by, and this is just fueling the unaffordability crisis in housing by increasing the price of land, and this could be a property to flip. And ultimately, council has discretion. Next slide. This, in terms of discretion, this property is burned down. It's listed for 20 million. Just shows the kind of runaway land price inflation, which is essentially creating the unaffordability, and then developers ask for more height and density, and you give it to them, the land price keeps going up and up and up. And I think Patrick Condon has brilliantly documented this in his latest book, Broken City. Next slide. Yeah, that's your context. And on one side of the Broadway plan, you have 20 stories or 18 stories, or in this case, a bonus for, a little corner store for 0.3 FSR extra. And then the other side, you have existing zoning. So there's even an issue with the planning of putting a boundary right in the middle of the road and not on a laneway. And I guess my time is up. So I would urge council not to approve it, but really ask the applicant if Hobbit has any intention of developing the site, or if this rezone to flip.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Speaker number 3, Mark Thompson. Is Mark on the phone? Oh, sorry, Councillor Dominato.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to appreciate hearing from speakers and seeing the modeling, but just that we caution speakers about disparaging comments towards our staff. So just noting that in the last presentation. So
thank you very much. Okay, speaker number 3, Mark Thompson.
Not on the line. I don't think the speaker is here. No.
Okay, well, he'll have another opportunity to get on the line. Okay, this is the third and final call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. If there are any additional speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium. We're now going to take a 5-minute recess for any additional. Oh, get Sarah again, please.
Actually didn't sign up for this one, so just thought I'd piggyback off of something.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Sarah McLeod, and I am a resident of Vancouver. Yeah, I wasn't planning on speaking on this one, but I thought it was interesting in Lewis's presentation how he quoted Albert Einstein, a familiar quote. It's a quote that you used yesterday, Mayor Sim, in your closing comments for your motion that passed on pausing any new supportive housing. So you not only quoted that same quote for those reasons, but you also said we are critical thinkers, and when we have additional information, we will continuously tweak and look at what's best going forward. So there is information showing that these rezonings are affecting affordability in this city, and I think because we are critical thinkers, we can take that information and make better decisions going forward with that information. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I thought I was on the list because they took my name at the front. It's Mike Holloway. I'm a resident in that neighborhood. I live about half a block from the proposed site. I'm against this development. The community in which development is proposed is a residential community with single-family and duplex properties, not towers. It is many blocks away from the nearest subway station, and development, in my opinion, should be started at the subway stations and then moved from there, not starting in the middle of a completely small house residential neighborhood. There are many original and renovated heritage and character homes both beside and within the surrounding blocks. So that will completely change the character of this neighborhood, and it is truly a neighborhood. Parking and traffic volumes will be massively impacted. 10th is a quiet street and a bike route, and I know that the whole Green City thing has been a city council objective, and even though there's been some talk about reducing the amount of car traffic, it's still, that would change completely the nature of the volume of traffic along there. The proposed development is 3 times in height of new buildings on the Broadway corridor, a far busier street than 10th or Carolina. I can't speak to Shadow, but the previous speaker, I think, was quite eloquent about that. In addition, adding retail and or like grocery store or cafe seems ludicrous in a neighborhood where both on 12th and on Broadway there are multiple grocery stores and cafes, so we don't need more of them in the middle of a residential area. Also, the proposed rooftop amenity deck will potentially cause significant noise disruption in that neighborhood. The development along the Broadway corridor should start, as I said, from sites of proposed transit stations not multiple blocks away. And then presumably it should be reduced in size the further you get away from the actual transit station. A smaller building at most, 3 to 4 stories, might be okay. And I don't understand why a proposal is even being considered for an 18-story tower on a quiet residential street where the maximum on Broadway was 6 stories. That just seems completely ludicrous to me. Save the larger buildings for major east-west streets and at or near transit stations. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for coming on in. Clerk, do we have anyone online or anyone else in the chamber?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to note that it is the procedure by law. We don't sign up registered speakers once the public hearing begins. Instead, when you call for additional speakers, you can come to the podium. So
Okay, great. Thank you
I
very
don't
much.
know if there's additional speakers or not.
Great. Awesome.
No? No.
Thank you very much. Okay, so with that, we will now take a 5-minute recess for any additional speakers to call in or come forward to the podium. Awesome, great, thank you. So do we have any additional speakers online or in person?
Yes, I see there is a speaker online, Doug Brown.
Okay. Doug, please go ahead.
Brief, I just did want to register my opposition to this proposal. I live within a block and a half of this proposed development as well. My primary concern is congestion and safety with a large proposed development of this kind set sort of back further into the neighborhood away from Broadway. This isn't already a compact residential neighborhood. Traffic's already very congested. We're down to single narrow lanes through many of all the neighborhood streets with parked cars on both sides. So we already have unsafe conditions for cyclists and pedestrians, and that's only going to increase where we have the addition of major density set into the neighborhood away from the artery. I think this scale of development belongs alongside a major artery like Broadway, not set back into residential neighborhood where it's going to exacerbate an existing high-risk situation for residents and people traveling through there. Thanks for your time.
Great, thank you very much. Clerk, do we have any other speakers?
None on the line. Is there anybody? I'm not seeing
No, I
anyone
don't see
come
anyone either.
forward.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Seeing no further speakers, the speakers list is now closed. Seeing that there are few or no public comments received after 5 p.m., I'm now closing the receipt of public comments. Does the applicant team have any closing comments?
No, we do not, but thank you for all of your time.
Thank you. And do our team members have any closing comments?
Thank you. No, we don't have any closing comments either.
Thank you. Does council have any final questions for our team members? Councillor Montague.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I was hoping to get staff's thoughts. Something that was brought up, and I'm wondering if staff could give me your thoughts on city council directing city staff to build highways to areas of land that are vacant in the valley and south.
Councillor Montague, General Manager, Joshua White, General Manager, Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability. I would suggest, A, that's certainly outside the scope of this application, and B, would not align with our land use, Vancouver plan, or regional growth strategy.
Okay, who would have thought? Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Montague. With that, Council, are there any other questions? No? Okay, Clerk, have we received any additional public comments since the close of public comments?
No.
Okay, Council will now make its decision on this application. Do we have a mover of the recommendations? Thank you, Councillor Klassen, seconded by Councillor Montague. Thank you. Council members, is there any discussion? I don't see anyone in the queue. Oh, Councillor Montague?
Yeah, thanks. I'll be brief. I have to admit, I'm not a huge fan of large-scale development on a street like this. I think part of it is that because we're in the early stages, it seems, maybe it seems extreme when we compare it to the rest of the landscape. But I'm going to try and think 30 years down the road, and I think that hopefully we'll get to a point of better integration. This is a street with heavy tree canopy, so I'm also hopeful, and I do think that from the ground you won't be able to see above the second or third story anyway in most cases. So I'm going to support, but like I said, I think we're in the early stages. It seems extreme, but I think we have to look down the road, 30, 40, 50 years, not what we're seeing right now.
Thank you very much. Okay, seeing no one else in the queue, a reminder that any council member participating virtually whose video is disabled will be marked absent for the vote pursuant to section 14.13 of the procedure bylaw. Now I'm going to call the vote. Clerk, can we please go to the voting screen? Okay, and that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Great. And team, thank you very much for all your work. Congrats. Okay. The next item on the agenda is item number 3, CD-1 rezoning 43-95 or 43-95 East 3rd Avenue. Before we begin, does anybody wish to declare a conflict of interest? No? Okay, great. The clerk's now going to read the application and summary of correspondence received.
This is an application by Ganser Architecture Design, Canada, to rezone 43-95 East 3rd Avenue from Industrial District to Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of an 8-story mixed-use building containing industrial and office uses with commercial space on the ground floor. A floor space ratio of 6.0 and a height of 41.4 meter with additional height for rooftop amenity space are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence has been received since referred to public hearing. 3 pieces in support, and that represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Great, thank you very much. Now, this is the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610. Followed by participant code 106-1445 # before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. There will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be added to the end of the registered speakers list. Now, we do have our team members from Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability here to present the application. Now, this item has no speakers registered, so council could opt to waive the team member presentation unless any member would find it helpful. Great. Councillor Montague, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Claassen. Any discussion? No? Okay, all in favor say aye. All those opposed shake their head vigorously left and right. No, I'm just kidding. Say no. Awesome. We will waive the presentation. Thank you very much. Would the applicant team like to present the application if in attendance?
No, thank you, Mayor and Council. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Now, are there any questions from council to our team members or the applicant team, noting that this is the only opportunity for council to ask questions of the applicant? Councillor Montague, are you in queue again, or? No, it's all over. Okay, great. Okay, seeing no one in the queue, this is the second call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 106-1445 # before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. We're now going to hear from the public. Any registered speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium when your name is called. We don't have anyone registered, so by the way, speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. Sarah, I think you would like to say something?
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it again. I'm not sure. Oh, the applicant's online, right? What I thought was cool about this proposal was that there's not currently any trees on the area, and they're proposing 6 trees on the site and 4 on the roof, which I think is cool to go from 0 to some. My question, I guess, rhetorically, I mean, answer it if you would like after, is the site is over 2,200 square meters, so by tree bylaws, it does say it requires 20. Now, I know there's exemptions to that, and if those exemptions, are valid and that's the reason there's only 6 being proposed, then, what can I do? But I guess I just want to say that if there's any way that you can fit 20 trees on the site, I think it would do great things for the people who would be in that area in the future, not just for their mental health, but also for helping combat hot temperatures in our warming climate. So I guess that's my only comment, that I'm thankful that it's going from, none to some, but, why do we have requirements if we don't meet them? So yeah, thanks.
Great, thanks, Sarah. Are there any other speakers in the chamber? No? Great. Okay, this is the third and final call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. If there are any additional speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium. We're now going to take a 5-minute recess for any additional speakers to call in or come forward. Thank you, everyone. So do we have any additional speakers on the line or in person?
Just double checking. No.
Okay, seeing no further speakers, the speakers list is now closed. Seeing that there are few or no public comments received after 5 p.m., I'm now going to close the receipt of public comments as well. Does the applicant team have any closing comments?
No, thank you. Just to respond to the previous comment, we'll be happy to work with city and staff for the remainder of the design for landscaping. So
Thank you very much. Does our team have any closing comments?
No close. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Does council have any final questions to our team members? All right.
Move the recommend, Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry, move the recommendations.
Okay. If you can give me one moment. So clerk.
Am I jumping?
Hold on one sec. Clerk, did we receive any additional public comments since the close of public comments?
No.
Okay. Okay, so council will now make its decision on the application. We do have a mover of the recommendations with Councillor Kirby-Young. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Montague, thank you very much. Okay, council members, is there any discussion? Okay, seeing no one in the queue, let's go to the voting panel, please. And if you can please cast your vote. Great, and that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, by the way, and congratulations. Okay, the next item is number 4, CD-1 rezoning 210 through 220 West 6th Avenue and 2224 Alberta Street. Now, before we begin this agenda item, does anybody want to declare a conflict of interest? Nope. Okay. The clerk will now read the application and summary of correspondence received.
This is an application by PC Urban Properties to rezone 210 to 220 West 6th Avenue and 2224 Alberta Street from Industrial District to Comprehensive Development District to permit the retention of a Vancouver Heritage Register listed building, Palmer Court, and the development of a 10-story mixed-use building with industrial, office, and retail uses. A floor space ratio of 6.6 and a height of 46.1 meter with additional height for rooftop amenity space and mechanical appurtenances are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, Sustainability recommends approval subject to conditions set on the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence has been received since we referred to public hearing: one piece in support, one piece dealing with other aspects of the application, and that represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Great, thank you very much. Now, this is the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 106-1445 # before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. Now, there will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be added to the end of the registered speakers list. And we do have our team from Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability here to present the application. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just queuing up for a question, but I can wait till after the presentation.
Okay, great. I'll put you back. We'll just add you back on. Oh, Councillor Montague.
Yeah, Mayor, it's just one registered speaker I see, so I moved away presentation to have it sent to council by email.
Great. Do we have a seconder? Great, Councillor Dominato. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to see it.
Okay, then we will see the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, can we? Okay. Great, thank all in favor of withdrawing the motion, say aye. Great, all opposed say nay. Great, the motion is withdrawn and we will hear the presentation. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Simon Jay, and I'm the rezoning planner for this application at 210 to 220 West 6th Avenue and 2224 Alberta Street, which is being considered under the Broadway plan. The site is outlined in red and it's zoned I1, and it's located in the Mount Pleasant industrial area on 6th Avenue between Alberta and Columbia Streets. Surrounding context is industrial and office buildings ranging from 1 to 4 stories. The site is developed with a 2-story industrial building and a 3-story apartment building listed on the Vancouver Heritage Register that does not conform with existing industrial zoning. Tenants on site are eligible for tenant protection under the Tenant Relocation and Protection Policy, but no tenants will be able to return as new or replacement residential is not permitted on this site. The site is located near several parks, community facilities, schools, and childcare. It is a 500-meter walk from the Broadway City Hall Canada Line station and is well served by transit and bus routes and bike routes. The proposal is located in the Mount Pleasant Industrial Area, Sub-Area A of the Broadway Plan. The plan permits industrial and office buildings with some commercial retail up to 11 stories and 6 FSR. A minimum of 3 FSR is required to be industrial. To incentivize heritage retention, up to 10% additional density can be permitted, which equates to a total of 6.6 FSR. The plan does not permit residential uses. The transit-oriented area bylaw only applies to residential and commercial zoning. Therefore, this location is exempt from minimum TOA height and density requirements. The application was received on January the 9th, 2024. The proposal is for industrial, office, and retail building and includes the heritage retention of Alma Court and a privately owned public space. The building is 10 stories with a maximum height of 46.1 meters. The floor space ratio is 6.6, of which 3 FSR is for industrial space. A total of 32 submissions were received during the public consultation. Comments of support were for the density, neighborhood fit, location near SkyTrain, and the heritage retention. Comments of concern related to the removal of rental housing and new office space not being needed. In response, staff note that the city is not able to permit new or replacement residential on industrial sites, such as this because Metro Vancouver regulations that protect industrial space in the region. Tenants are eligible for tenant protection under the Tenant Relocation and Protection Policy, including financial compensation and assistance finding new accommodation. Staff also note there is a high demand for modern office space close to transit, as proposed. This project includes a cash CAC in the form of a commercial linkage contribution of approximately $836,000. This cash will be allocated towards the Broadway Plan public benefit strategy. Combined with development cost levies and public art fees associated with the site, it is expected the project will provide approximately $4.8 million in public benefits. In conclusion, this proposal meets the intent of the Broadway Plan by delivering employment space and heritage retention. Staff recommend approval subject to conditions outlined in Appendix B of the report. Staff and the applicant team are available to answer questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Would the applicant team like to present the application?
Hi there, Court Brown with PC Urban, the applicant here with Nicola Wealth, our partner, and Proscenium Architecture. No presentation, sorry, but certainly available to answer any questions.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any questions from council to our team or the applicant team, noting that this is the only opportunity for council to ask questions of the applicant? And Councillor Dominato.
Thanks, Mayor. And yeah, my questions are for the applicant. I'm curious if you can comment on what you anticipate in terms of industrial demand in that space.
Unclear right now, but we anticipate that demand will ultimately be there. And yeah, when it comes time for occupancy in a couple of years, that the demand will be there. But right now, unsure.
Okay. And because there is also an office component to this, any concerns with fulfilling that? Because we've been hearing there's been a slump in the demand for office.
Yeah, there is a slump, but the hope is that it's going to come back. We think it will. And we're confident moving forward that the demand will ultimately be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, thanks. I'll start with a question to staff, and this is an interesting one, or sort of tweaked a few questions for me. How did it happen that the zoning didn't permit residential, but it was built there? And I know it said this is one of the last surviving apartment buildings, but it's north of Broadway. So did people just build anyway? Like, how did that actually happen?
So the apartment building is prior to when the industrial zoning happened. So it precedes industrial zoning.
Okay, so like the other sort of, there's some other little pockets of residential in and around the area. So you're saying that over time, as sites in this adjacency or in this zone come up, all the residential will go and it will all become the I-1 zoning? Is that correct?
That's what the plan calls for, yes.
Okay. And just for absolute clarity, because we've had some unfortunate loss of heritage recently in the city, such as downtown with the Dunsmuir House, but this one says that the facades are being kept, but not the interior, but it is the full, complete facades of this building and the masonry.
So it is the most of the building, yes. My colleague James Bolt is on the line if to provide more information.
Sorry, James Bolt here. Yes, the east wall will be incorporated into the building, but the lane side, the south, the west side, and the north side are being retained. The interior structure was stick framed, and it wasn't compatible with the industrial uses in terms of codes and everything, and so it's being proposed to replace the interior structure.
Okay, but for all intents and purposes, the exterior of the building will look as it does now?
Yes. The north side's going to be opened up to on the ground floor for a plaza, which is, I think, a great way to open up that north end of the building where the parking lot is now.
Okay. That's great. I'll leave it there. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great, thank you very much. Okay. Seeing no one else in the queue, this is the second call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445 # before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. We're now going to hear from the public. Any registered speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium when your name is called. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. And I know we have one registered speaker on the speakers list, and that's, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name, but Claudia Rampke. Is that correct? Claudia? Not here and not on the line. Okay. This is the third and final call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445 # before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. If there are any additional speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium. Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Ken, or Mayor, Council, thanks again. I'm gonna focus on thank you. Can show off my shirt then. On the natural assets part of this. So I'm just gonna read from this. Sorry if you've already read it, but the urban forestry strategy seeks to protect and strengthen Vancouver's urban forestry and tree canopy. The protection of tree bylaws requires permission to remove trees that meet certain conditions to protect as many healthy, viable trees while still meeting the challenges of development and housing priorities. So with this specific item, there's 6 existing trees on the area, and in the verbiage of the referral, they are here we go. That the 6 existing trees are all proposed removal. And the verbiage is due to their location within the proposed building envelope. From my learning of the tree bylaws, 1 second, here we go. I don't believe that is a reason, and nothing says anything about the proposed building envelope. The conditions to remove trees says that either the tree on a development site is located within the building envelope, not the proposed building envelope. And then an arborist, if it says it's dead, and if it needs to be pruned to have wires and plumbing, but nothing about proposed building envelope. It's all about the building envelope. And then for developments, it says unless a tree requires removal under those conditions listed above, which we've just said is not the case because it does not say proposed building envelope, then all property development requires you to retain existing trees located on your property. That's how I interpreted it. I'm learning. It's peaceful with a good dog and some trees. You can guess who sang that. You get 10 points. There's a clue. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Great, thanks, Sarah. All right. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Louis Villegas. I'm an urban design specialist for 40 years. I live in Vancouver, moved in 1988. My clock says 2 minutes.
No.
I'm just speaking extemporaneously to this particular application. Steve and I looked at it. We just didn't feel that it had the same kind of dynamics of putting towers in a neighborhood right next to houses. But it is in what I call the Confederation District of our city, which I believe was first owned by Powell, who may have been one of our first of 3 mayors. The first one was Mayor McLean. And the concept of turning it into a workspace district, it goes completely against, is anachronistic. It goes against how we're dealing with cities today. But specifically to the application, I think there's a great opportunity that a human scale building has been retained. And when you're thinking about good urban space, whether it's, let's say, Chinatown Square or the square in front of the Salt Building in the Olympic Village, which was retained because of my plan. What you're really looking for is a continuity of enclosure at human scale. You do continuity of enclosure with towers and you get overpowered, it doesn't work. But if you do it at 4 stories or lower, then all of a sudden, physiologically what happens is you can feel the space. And that's a unique experience in modern urbanism. And this site has that quality. So I was just talking to the architect. It's not his decision, it's his client that has to come in and do this. But there is an opportunity to create a kind of a passage through the back of that property that would have some of these qualities. And so then all of a sudden people might linger. And you might be able to have a cafe with tables and chairs and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to reemphasize the fact that this is an area in our city that was platted. The blocks and the streets were laid out early in the 1900s or late in the 1800s at a time when Western provinces were joining Confederation after British Columbia. So we have the Yukon, we have New Brunswick, we have Nova Scotia, and these streets were named after those provinces because they were coming into Confederation. It's a unique place, and it's so disappointing to see a proposal that really doesn't do anything unique. We have a little bit of human scale left in there. Let's use it. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Any other speakers in the chamber or online? Seeing none, we're now going to take a 5-minute recess and wait for any additional speakers to call in or come forward to the podium.
No. Oh, you're not turned on.
Oh, no, I have some, but it's all good. Thank you. Excuse me. Okay, seeing no further speakers, the speakers list is now closed. Seeing that there are few or no public comments received after 5 p.m., I'm now closing the receipt of public comments. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, does the applicant team have any closing comments?
Closing comments, thanks.
Great, thank you. Do our team members have any closing comments?
And no closing comments, thanks.
Excuse me. That's on you, Montague, let me tell you. All right. Let's try this again. Does council have any final comments or final questions for our team members? Seeing no one in the queue, Clerk, did we receive any additional public comments since the close of public comments?
No.
Okay, so council will now make its decision on this application. Do we have a mover for the recommendations? Great, Councillor Dominato, seconded by Councillor Klassen. Council, is there any discussion? Yes, Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'll just say that I'm really pleased to see the heritage being retained. Mount Pleasant has a unique character, and like a large part of most neighbors in our city, it's changing and evolving, but it's disappointing when we lose heritage, and it is, I am grateful when we retain it. So recognize that the interior will be purpose-built to support the intended use, the industrial use, but I think having the facade retained and connectivity to POPs or privately owned public spaces is a great feature. So I'm happy to see that. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Councillor Klassen.
Thanks very much. When this project first came to council for referral, I too was quite enthused by some of the heritage retention there. I may have mentioned it then, but I'll repeat it here. That some good friends of mine used to live in the top floor of that apartment building, so I've been there in my younger days. It's really nice to see the integration there. I also really appreciate the placement of the plaza on the northwest corner of the property. I think this is an area that will probably attract obviously a lot of employment and types of businesses where people are going to want to have that time to be able to kind of come outside and experience that, and having the kind of the warmth of the brick building beside it, I think will really add to that as well. So I'm going to be supporting this application, but I just wanted to just acknowledge those particular components about it. I know that we are in an evolving time when it comes to both the use of office and light industrial, but this is a part of the city that I think where this would be a really great fit. So I hope for a lot of success in this particular project. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Okay, a reminder that any council member participating virtually whose video is disabled will be marked absent for the vote pursuant to section 14.13 of the procedure bylaw. I'm now going to call the vote. If we can all go to the voting panel. Great, and that passes unanimously. Great. Thank you very much, team. Congrats. Okay. The next item on the docket is item number 5, minor industrial zoning amendments. Now, before we begin this agenda item, does anybody have a conflict of interest that they need to disclose? Seeing none, the clerk's now going to read the application and summary of correspondence received.
This is an application by the General Manager of Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability to amend the zoning and development bylaw to advance the directions of the city's employment lands and economy review, and to modernize and standardize industrial zoning regulations across the Mount Pleasant industrial areas district schedules. No correspondence has been received since referral to the public hearing up to 5 p.m. today.
Great, thank you. This is the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610. followed by participant code 106144 pound before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. There will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be added to the end of the registered speakers list. Now, we do have team members from Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability here to present the application. Yes, Councillor Montague.
Unless there's someone who wants to hear the presentation, I'm happy to move to waive it.
Great, seconded. Great. Any discussion? Great. We'll put it to vote. Any all in favor of waiving, say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Great. Passes unanimously. We will waive the presentation. Please note the City of Vancouver's General Manager for Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability is the applicant for the item. Are there any questions from council to our team members? And Councillor Montague, is that legacy? You don't? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Seeing none, this is the second call for speakers. If there are any speakers who wish to speak to this item or speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 106144 pound before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. So we'll now hear from the public. Any registered speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium when your name is called. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. So Clerk, do we have any registered speakers or people online?
No.
Or in person? No. Great. Okay, this is the third and final call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 106144 pound before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. If there are any additional speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess and wait for any additional speakers. We have a quorum. Okay, so do we have any additional speakers either in the chamber or online?
No.
Seeing no, thank you very much. Seeing no further speakers, the speakers list is now closed. Seeing there are few or no public comments received after 5 p.m., I'm now going to close receipt of public comments. Do our team members have any closing comments? Nope. Great. Thank you. Does council have any final questions for our team members? Seeing none. So did we receive any additional public comments since the close of public comments?
No.
Great. Council will now make its decision on this application. So do we have a mover? Councillor Montague, thank you. Councillor Dominato, seconded. Thank you. Council, is there any discussion? Seeing no one in the queue, a reminder that any council member participating virtually whose video is disabled will be marked absent for the vote pursuant to section 14.13 of the procedure bylaw. Let's please go to voting, to the voting panel. I'll call the vote. Great. And that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. I guess we need a motion to adjourn. Great. Who was that? Was that
Me?
Oh, sorry, Councillor Kirby Young. I was hearing voices. I didn't know. Anyways, I was going to crack.
I can't help it.
Seconder, Councillor Dominato. Thank you. All those in favor? Yay. All those opposed, say nay. Great. The motion is carried. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.